Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, friends, today we talk about winning, not by chance, not by luck, not by inheritance. Let me tell you something that most people don't want to hear. Money is everything. Not because you need it to buy flashy cars or designer clothes, but because without money, you are not free. And if you're not free, you're not in control. And if you're not in control, someone else is. That's the cold, brutal truth about the world. And most men spend their entire lives trying to avoid it. You see, when I say get rich, I don't mean go out and buy a Lamborghini so you can flex on Instagram. That's surface level nonsense. I mean build wealth so deep, so secure, and so powerful that no one can tell you what to do, where to be, or who to answer to. Wealth is not about appearance. It's about power. It's about autonomy. It's about option. When you've got money, you're no longer playing defense. You're running the game. When you wake up broke, you're rig up in survival mode. You're playing catch up before the day even starts. Your boss owns your time. The rent owns your stress. The debt owns your mind. You're not building anything. You're patching holes in a sinking ship. That's not life. That's not winning. That's not what high-value men do. High-value men build. They create systems. They use their mind as a weapon. Every dollar they earn, they make it multiply. They understand that getting rich isn't a matter of luck. It's a matter of focus. It's a lifestyle. You don't get wealthy by watching Netflix and waiting for the world to hand you something. You get wealthy by deciding that you're going to outthink, outwork, and outmaneuver every man around you. And then you do it. The difference between the winners and the spectators is that the winners never accepted the script they were handed. They rewrote it. Most men were told, go to school, get a job, save a little, retire at 65, and maybe then you'll get to enjoy life. Do you know what that is? That's a trap. That's a system designed to keep you average, broke, and obedient. High-value men don't follow systems. They design them. They don't beg for opportunities. They create them. They don't wait to be chosen. Getting rich starts in your mind. It starts when you say, I'm done being average. I'm done being controlled. I will learn everything I need to know to master this game. Whether it's business, investing, e-commerce, real estate, crypto, I don't care what the vehicle is. What matters is that you're in the driver's seat and you've committed to never being broke again. Because once you've tasted financial freedom, once you've bought back your time, once you've built something that no one can take from you, you'll never go back. Money gives you the power to say no. No to bad deals. No to disrespect. No to toxic people. No to the grind of working for someone else's dream. That kind of power changes how you walk into a room. You're not looking for approval anymore. You don't need to impress anyone. You know you've got options. You know you've built it. And that's when the world starts to shift in your favor, when people know you don't need them. But make no mistake, the journey is hard. It requires sacrifice. It means giving up comfort for purpose. It means choosing pain now for power later. But if you can stomach it, if you can embrace the grind, push through the setbacks, and stay hungry when others settle, you'll rise. And when you rise, you'll look around and see that 99% of people are still asleep, still hoping, still wishing. You'll be awake. You'll be free. Understand this. Money doesn't make you a man, but being a man who refuses to be financially weak, who refuses to beg, who refuses to be dependent, that makes you high value. That makes you rare. That makes you dangerous. And in this world, dangerous men win. Get rich, not because money is everything, but because without it, everything else is harder. Money without power is like having a weapon you don't know how to use. You can be rich, you can have the cars, the watches, the freedom, but if you don't have power, real power, you're still at the mercy of people who do. That's why I say getting rich is only step one. The next step, you gain power. You become a man that moves things, a man who makes things happen, a man people fear disappointing, not because he's cruel, but because he's that important. Power doesn't always come with a crown or a title. It's not about being the loudest in the room. In fact, it's usually the opposite. The man with power doesn't need to raise his voice. His silence alone can shift the entire mood in a room. People feel it when a man of power enters. They sit straighter. They listen more, not because they're forced to, but because the energy changes. You know what I'm talking about, you've seen it. The room shifts for men who command. But let's strip away the fantasy. Power is earned, it's not gifted. No one wakes up with it. And it sure as hell isn't inherited if you don't know how to handle it. You gain power through competence. You gain power by becoming someone who delivers, someone who gets results, no matter what. The man with power isn't the one with the most opinions. He's the one with the most outcomes. The world doesn't care how smart you are until you show you can win. Look at every environment, business, social circles, even relationships. The man who controls the pace, the man who sets the tone, is the one people follow. Because power is influence. It's knowing how to lead without begging, knowing how to negotiate without threatening, knowing how to inspire without pretending. And here's the part that most soft men will never understand. Power is responsibility. When you gain it, you don't use it to dominate people. You use it to shape outcomes. You use it to protect, to build, to secure your tribe. That's why most men will never taste real power. They're not built to carry the weight. Now, I'm not talking about corrupt power, political games, or shady backdoor deals. I'm talking about personal power, internal command, the ability to stand your ground when everything's falling apart, the ability to make hard decisions and live with the consequences. That's power. The average man crumbles under pressure. A high-value man, he thrives in it, because pressure is where power is revealed. And if you want to gain power in this world, you have to be dangerous, not reckless, not out of control, but capable. Dangerous in the sense that you are not a man who can be pushed around, not by people, not by the system, not by life. You know what you stand for and you're willing to defend. You can protect your family, build your empire, and destroy anything that threatens either. That's what being a powerful man means. People respect strength. They always have. That's not toxic. That's nature. You either become someone who leads or someone who follows. And listen carefully. No one is going to hand you leadership. No one is going to give you the crown just because you asked nicely. You take it by becoming undeniable. You work harder. You learn faster. You out-discipline, outperform, and outlast everyone around you. And one day you look around and realize, you're the guy. You're the one they go to. You're the one they trust, or fear, or follow. Either way, you've arrived. But don't think for a second that power makes life easier. It doesn't. What it does is give you leverage. You can negotiate differently. You can walk away from situations others are stuck in. You can build faster, scale higher, reach further. But the climb never ends. In fact, the higher you go, the more brutal the game gets. The sharks get bigger. The rules get dirtier. But by then you're not worried, because you are the storm. The man with power doesn't get comfortable. He doesn't sit back and coast. He's sharp, calculated, prepared. While others sleep, he's thinking 2 moves ahead. While others celebrate, he's building the next win. That's what separates a man who holds power from the man who had power and lost it. You stay ready. You stay hungry. You remember that the world respects momentum, but it follows strength. Every day you wake up as a man, you are either gaining power or giving it away. You give it away when you lie to yourself, when you betray your values, when you stay silent in moments you should speak, when you watch life pass by, instead of making it bend to your will. You gain it when you take action, when you improve yourself, when you protect what matters, when you become someone who cannot be ignored. So if you want to win, you need to get rich. Yes, but then you need to level up. You need to gain power, not just in the world, but over yourself. Because the man who cannot control himself will never control anything else. Be the man that doesn't need permission. Be the man people look at and say, that guy's different. That guy gets it done. That's power. And once you have it, the world listens. Move like you're meant to lead.
Let me make something very clear. Respect is not something you ask for. It's something you command. There's a huge difference. Weak men chase respect. They beg for it. They try to earn it through fake gestures. They talk louder, act tougher, hoping someone will validate them. High-value men don't chase anything, not money, not women, and definitely not respect. Because respect isn't given to the loudest. It's given to the most consistent, the most disciplined, the most dangerous in silence. You want to command respect? Start by respecting yourself. That's the root of all of it. If you don't respect how you look in the mirror, how you act when no one's watching, how you speak to others, how you live your daily life, why would anyone else respect you? You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You can't trick people into respecting you long term. Maybe for a moment, sure, but respect that lasts, that's earned. That's built through who you are when no one's watching. The problem is too many men try to act respected before they've actually built anything worth respecting. You walk around with your chest out, trying to play the part, but deep down you know it's hollow. And guess what? Everyone else can see it too. You can't cheat your way into being high value. You've got to become it. That means doing the hard stuff consistently. That means showing up when it's inconvenient. That means sticking to your word even when it costs you. Respect is built in silence. It's built in the early mornings you train when no one's watching. It's built when you say no to the easy path and yes to the grind. It's built when you shut your mouth, handle your business, and let your results speak louder than your ego ever could. The man who commands respect isn't the one who talks about what he's going to do. He's the one who already did it and didn't need to broadcast it. People respect clarity. They respect standards, and high-value men set standards for themselves and for the people around them. You want to know how to lose respect fast. Be inconsistent. Say one thing, do another. Let people cross boundaries without consequence. Betray your own values because you're afraid of conflict. Every time you fold on your standards, you're telling the world, I don't really mean what I say. And trust me, the world listens. You command respect by being a man who moves with purpose. A man who walks into a room and doesn't need to seek attention because his presence already says it all. People look at him and know, without words, that he's not the one to play with. That comes from years of building yourself mentally, physically, financially, emotionally. That comes from facing your demons and beating them. That comes from losing, learning, and leveling up without whining or making excuses. And understand this, there's a difference between being liked and being respected. You don't need everyone to like you. In fact, if everyone likes you, you're probably doing something wrong. Respect comes when people know you won't bend just to make them comfortable. You won't sugarcoat truth. You won't tolerate disrespect. That firmness, that ability to stand tall without being arrogant, is what separates high-value men from the rest. They're not aggressive, they're assertive, controlled, unshakable. You also earn respect by how you treat people who can't give you anything. That's a mark of a man with depth. Respect doesn't come from stepping on others to prove a point. It comes from knowing your worth, while still moving with humility. Quiet strength. That's the energy that builds a legacy. That's the kind of respect that outlives the money and outshines the noise. And when you really command respect, you don't even have to ask for loyalty. It shows up. People want to follow strength. They want to be close to the man who has it figured out, who doesn't panic, who doesn't fold, who doesn't need constant validation. And I'll tell you this, when you live with integrity, when your life is a reflection of your values, not your words, you'll find that doors open without you knocking. But here's the catch. Commanding respect means being willing to stand alone. It means being the guy who says no when everyone else is saying yes. It means being misunderstood. It means being criticized. It means people will talk behind your back because they're not built like you. Let them, because every man who's ever built something great has walked through that fire alone before he earned their silence. You want to be respected? Then become the man who no one can ignore. Not because you demand attention, but because your discipline, your results, and your mindset speak before you do. That's the level. And once you reach it, you'll never tolerate anything less again. You'll walk differently, talk differently, think differently, because you are different. Move like your reputation matters more than your popularity. Most men don't have a clue what they're doing. They wake up, go through the motions, scroll their lives away, sleep, repeat, and they wonder why they feel empty, restless, frustrated. It's because they're living without purpose. No direction, no mission, just reacting to life, instead of controlling it. And let me tell you, a man without purpose is a lost man. He might have money, he might have girls, he might even look successful, but inside he's hollow. That's not a life. That's a slow death. Purpose is the anchor. It's what keeps you steady when life hits hard. It's what gives meaning to your pain and discipline to your days. Purpose is the difference between wasting time and investing it. When you know what you're chasing, you move differently. You think different. You don't care about distractions because you're locked in on the mission. You're not influenced by opinions, trends, or noise because you know exactly where you're going and why it matters. And you don't find your purpose sitting on a beach, meditating for weeks, waiting for the universe to whisper in your ear. You find it by doing hard things, by challenging yourself, by pushing through discomfort. Purpose reveals itself through action, through trial, through failure. It starts as a spark, maybe an idea, a gut instinct, a moment of anger or clarity, and then it becomes something bigger the more you chase it. Too many men want purpose to feel perfect. They want to feel ready. That's weakness. Purpose doesn't care about comfort. It demands work. It demands sacrifice. If you wait for it to feel easy, you'll die waiting. Purpose means you wake up and do the things you don't feel like doing, because you've got a bigger vision. It means you say no to instant gratification, because you're playing the long game. It means you suffer today so that you can win for the rest of your life. I've seen men with no money, no fame, no connections, but they had purpose, and they were more powerful than guys with 10 times the resources. Because when a man moves with purpose, he becomes unstoppable. You can't bribe him, distract him, or break him. He's not living for applause. He's not looking for shortcuts. He's climbing, building, fighting every day because he knows what he's fighting for. The world is filled with men chasing status without substance. They want to look important, but they have no mission. That's why they fall apart the moment things get hard. They crumble because they were never rooted in anything solid. But a man with purpose, he bends, he adapts, but he doesn't break. Because he's not here to impress. He's here to conquer, to build, to lead. Purpose is not just about your goals. It's about your standards. It's about who you refuse to be. It's about the legacy you're building, whether you're 20 or 50. It's knowing that this life ends, and when it does, you either left something behind, or you did. You either stood for something, or you didn't. That thought alone should light a fire under you. You don't get to do this forever. You don't get unlimited chances. And once you understand that, every moment becomes fuel. Every day becomes an opportunity to get one step closer to who you were meant to be. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how good you look, how smart you think you are, or how many followers you've got. If you don't have purpose, you're not a threat. You're a decoration. You're playing dress up in a world that rewards warriors. And this world doesn't care about your potential. It cares about your results. Purpose turns potential into power. It turns pain into progress. It turns ordinary men into legend. You can have all the tools, but without direction, they're worthless. Purpose is what focuses your energy. It's what makes you relentless. It's what keeps you up at night, thinking about how to build faster, smarter, stronger. That obsession you feel when you're aligned with your mission. That's the zone most people never reach. That's when work stops feeling like work. That's when sacrifice feels like investment. That's when every loss becomes a lesson that makes you more dangerous. And let me be crystal clear. Purpose isn't something you can fake. You can try to act like you've got it, but people can smell the difference. Real purpose can't be taught. It's chosen every single day. It's chosen when you show up tired, when you stay disciplined and silent, when you don't get applause, when you sacrifice comfort, approval, and even relationships for the bigger picture. And when you do that long enough, something shifts. People start to see it. Opportunities open. Respect grows. Influence builds. Not because you were chasing it, but because you became someone worth following. If you want to be high value, stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who am I becoming? Because when you know that, everything else falls into place. Purpose gives your wealth meaning. It gives your power direction. It gives your respect depth. Without it, you're just a rich, loud nobody. But with it, you're a man who makes moves that echo. You're a man who changes lives, not just his own. Move like you've got a mission. No one can stop.
Let me tell you something a lot of men don't want to hear. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are fleeting. One day you wake up fired up to conquer the world, and the next, you can't even drag yourself out of bed. That's the problem. Weak men live based on how they feel. High-value men live based on who they are. That's the difference. Discipline is the foundation that keeps everything else together when the emotions fade, when the noise dies down, and when no one is watching. You think winners are motivated every day? You think the man at the top feels like grinding every morning, training when he's sore, working when he's tired, staying focused when the world's trying to distract him? Of course not. He wins because he does it anyway. He wins because he's built systems, routines, and mindsets that don't rely on inspiration. He's wired for war, even on his worst days. That's what separates the boys from the men. That's what separates the average from the elite. Discipline is what allows you to delay gratification. It's what allows you to pass on the party, ignore the easy win, say no to the girl who only brings drama, avoid the deal that makes you quick cash but poisons your name. Discipline is what makes sure your actions align with your values, not your impulses. It's a form of power most people will never master because it takes consistency, and consistency is boring. But guess what? Winning is built in the boring, not in the spotlight, not on social media, not in the highlight reel, but in the quiet hours of repetition when no one's clapping for you. You see, people want results without rituals. They want the body without the workouts. They want the money without the grind. They want the respect without the character. But it doesn't work like that. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you're not in the mood, especially when you're not in the mood, because that's when it counts. That's when you prove to yourself that you're in control, not your emotions, not your urges, not your excuses. You don't become high value by chance. You build it. One disciplined day at a time, one decision at a time. You wake up when you said you would. You train when you said you would. You work when you said you would. Not because it's fun, not because it's easy, but because that's what it takes to deserve what you want. You say you want a better life. Show me your calendar. Show me your habit. Show me your non-negotiables. That's where the truth is. Not in your words, in your patterns. You want freedom? You better master discipline first, because the world respects the man who's in control of himself. And how do you control a world that tests you every day?
You become unshakable from within. Discipline trains your mind to reject weakness, to ignore distractions, to laugh at temptation, and it creates momentum. When you do something hard today, it makes it easier to do it again tomorrow. Eventually, it becomes who you are. You don't have to try anymore. It's automatic. You're the guy who just does it every single time. Let me tell you something else. Discipline isn't just about doing more. Sometimes it's about subtracting, cutting out what weakens you, cutting out the fake friends, the lazy habits, the excuses, the endless entertainment. Every yes to something soft is a no to your progress. The disciplined man is ruthless with his time. He doesn't let everyone have access. He doesn't need to explain himself. He knows where he's going, and every decision is either taking him closer or pulling him further. That's how precise your life needs to be if you're serious about winning. And don't get it twisted. Discipline is not about being cold, robotic, or joyless. It's about freedom. The freedom to live on your terms, to build what you want, protect who you love, and move without asking permission. It's about peace of mind. The peace that comes from knowing you're living in alignment with your highest standard, that you're not wasting your potential, that you're becoming the man you were born to be. The undisciplined man lives in chaos. His room's a mess. His bank account's a mess. His emotions are a mess. His relationships are a mess. He's always stressed, always overwhelmed, always chasing and never building. He reacts instead of he survives instead of thrives. And at some point he looks back and realizes he wasted years. You think that's harsh? It's reality. Discipline is what protects you from that regret. It's the shield that guards your future. You need to become the man who shows up regardless. The man who doesn't flinch when it's hard. The man who doesn't care if it's raining, if it's lonely, if it's tiring. He still shows up because he made a promise to himself, and breaking that promise isn't an option. That's who you need to be. Because when you build that level of discipline, you become dangerous. Not because you yell or fight or flex, but because your life speaks for you. Because your actions are louder than words. Because you can't be shaken. Discipline turns men into kings. It builds empires. It writes legacy. It sharpens the edge that keeps you ahead. It keeps your head high when others fold. And it gives you the right to walk into any room, knowing you earned everything you've got. Not because of luck, not because of looks, but because of work. Move like the man who never negotiates with weak.